Okay, so what if I told you your life isn't entirely your own? Today, we're going to dig into this really powerful idea called the script. This sort of pre-written life plan that society just kind of hands us, and one that most of us just follow without even realizing it. And it all kicks off with this really provocative line. It's meant to stop you in your tracks and make you think, right? That's not a life, that's a script. What does that even mean? Well, it suggests our roles, our lines, maybe even our grand finale have all been written for us.
So, what's the actual premise here? The core argument is this. From a really young age, society doesn't just give us advice, it hands us a super detailed step-by-step instruction manual for how to live. It's a path that's so common, so well-trodden, that stepping off of it feels, well, almost crazy.
All right, let's put a definition on it. The script is basically that standard path we all know. Go to school, get a job, work for decades, and then, finally, you get to retire. But the whole argument here is that this system, it's not really built for your personal fulfillment. It's built for your compliance. It's designed to make you a predictable part of the machine. So where does this all begin? How do we get programmed like this? Well, it starts way earlier than you'd think. The first phase isn't really education in the way we like to imagine it. It's more like training. Training for the system that's waiting for you. And this training really boils down to 4 key behaviors we all learned in school. Think about it. It's not just about learning math or history, is it? It's about learning to memorize stuff without asking why, to raise your hand and ask for permission just to speak, to wait your turn in line, and maybe most importantly, to just follow instructions. This isn't just school, it's conditioning. Okay, so after all those years of training, you finally graduate, and that's when you're presented with the big deal, the so-called promise of adult life. And it's a pretty simple contract, really, when you break it down into 3 parts. First part of the deal, you commit to working 40 hours a week, every week. This becomes the foundation of your adult life, right? It's the rhythm that dictates pretty much everything. When you wake up, when you eat, when you get a little bit of time for yourself. Part 2, the price tag. You give up about 50% of what you earn in taxes. That's your ticket to play the game. Just think about that. Half of your time, your effort, your energy, it goes right back to the system you're working in. And what's the big reward for all this? What's the payoff at the end of the road? Well, you get to retire at 67, if you're lucky. That prize at the finish line isn't just a long way off. It's not even a guarantee. So you have to wonder, if the deal seems a little one-sided, why do so many of us just accept it? And here's the really powerful insight. The script keeps itself going. Just the sheer exhaustion of working those 40 hours, paying the bills, and just living inside this structure, it doesn't leave much room for anything else. You're just too tired to question the race you're running. But then, for some people, something just clicks. A moment of clarity happens. It's like the background noise of your life suddenly sharpens into a pattern you can't ignore. This is that moment where you stop just living the script and you actually see it for what it is. And this is absolutely crucial. This isn't some passing thought. It's a permanent shift in how you see the world. Once you see the architecture of the script, you can never go back to being blissfully unaware. Suddenly, every rule, every expectation, every should, you see it all in a totally new light. And this realization creates this huge divide, right? On one side, living the script means you follow instructions. But once you've had the realization, you start to question everything. A life of just simple compliance turns into a life of awareness. And maybe the biggest trade-off of all, you exchange the comfort of a promised, predictable future for the scary, uncertain freedom of carving out your own path. Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway here. Seeing the script? That's just the very beginning. The awareness alone doesn't set you free. All it does is show you that freedom isn't something you're given. It's something you have to actively take. It was never going to be the prize waiting for you at the end of the script. So, with that heavy idea sitting there, we're kind of left at a crossroads, aren't we? We've identified the script, we've redefined what freedom might mean, and that really just leads us to one final and I think essential question. Seeing the script is just step 0. The real work, the real challenge is figuring out what comes next. If that pre-written path is off the table, what does it actually mean to start writing your own story? That's the big question this whole idea leaves us with. Thanks for exploring it with me.